The Galactic Council had been watching humans for 3 years before they made their decision. Every species in the Council agreed on one thing. Humans were completely and totally insane. Ambassador Velthris of the Zerani Collective stood before the Great Chamber. His body was made of a clear skin that changed colors based on his feelings. Right now it was a deep purple color. This meant he was feeling very superior to others. Behind him, a giant screen showed images and videos of Earth and its people. Let me show you what we have learned about these creatures, Velthris said to the hundreds of alien representatives sitting in the chamber. They eat a chemical called capsaicin. This chemical burns their mouths and causes them pain. They call this eating spicy food, and they do it for fun. Sounds of shock and confusion filled the room. The insect-like cricks clicked their mandibles in disbelief. The rock-covered Vex grunted and shook their heads. There is more, Velthris continued. They jump out of perfectly working aircraft with only a piece of cloth to slow their fall. They climb frozen mountains where the air is too thin to breathe. They dive into the deep ocean where the pressure can crush metal. Why would any species do these things? Asked a representative from the Kethrani, a four-armed species known for their careful and logical nature. Because they enjoy it, Velthris said. His skin flickered to a shade of orange that meant he found this amusing. They call these activities hobbies. The chamber erupted in noise. Different species expressed their disbelief in different ways. Some made clicking sounds. Others hummed. Some simply sat in stunned silence. Perhaps most disturbing of all, Velthris said, raising his thin arms for quiet. They keep predators in their homes. Large animals with sharp teeth and claws. Animals that could easily kill them. And they call these animals pets. They let these creatures sleep in their beds. This cannot be accurate, said a Vex Council member. No species could survive with such broken survival instincts. And yet they have survived. They have spread across their planet. They have reached their moon by strapping themselves to controlled explosions. They are now reaching toward the stars. Velthris paused. The question before this council is simple. Do we allow these insane creatures to join us? Far away from the council chamber, on a space station called Nexus, a human ship was preparing to dock. The station was the largest trading hub in the galaxy. It floated at the edge of human space, where the territories of many species came together. Lieutenant Commander Danny Price stood in the docking bay of his ship, the Stellar Wanderer. He was a tall man with brown hair that was starting to show some gray at the sides. He had been in the Earth fleet for 15 years, and this was his first mission to bring humans to Nexus Station. Listen up, Danny said to the 12 crew members standing before him. This is our first shore leave in 8 months. I know you are all excited. But remember, we are the first Earth Fleet crew to visit this station. The Council is still deciding if they want humans as members. Everything we do will be watched and judged. Chief Petty Officer Maria Santos stood at the front of the group. She was a strong woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight braid. Her arms were crossed, and she wore a small smile on her face. So you were saying we should be on our best behavior, sir? Maria asked. I am saying please do not start any fights, Danny replied. When have I ever started a fight? Do you want me to list them alphabetically or by date? Maria's smile grew wider. Those were all misunderstandings. Behind them, a young man shifted nervously from foot to foot. Ensign Kevin Park was only 23 years old. This was his first deep space mission, and he had spent the entire journey reading about the different alien species they might meet. Most of what he read was not encouraging. Sir, Kevin said quietly, the briefings say that aliens think we are unstable. Maybe we should just stay on the ship? Danny walked over and put a hand on Kevin's shoulder. Ensign, we have been stuck in this metal box for 8 months. The crew needs to stretch their legs, breathe recycled air that someone else recycled for a change, and maybe have a drink that was not made by our food printer. But sir, what if something goes wrong? Then we handle it like we always do. Danny smiled in a way that was meant to be reassuring. Besides, what is the worst that could happen? Maria and several other crew members exchanged looks. In their experience, asking that question was a very bad idea. The docking clamps connected with a loud clang. The airlock door hissed open, and the smell of Nexus Station washed over them. It was a strange mix of different atmospheres, foods, and the body odors of dozens of different species. Not pleasant, but not terrible either. Danny led his crew through the airlock and into the station. The main corridor was enormous, easily 50 meters wide and 30 meters tall. It was designed to fit species of all sizes, from the tiny Frel who were no bigger than house cats, to the massive Gorath who stood 4 meters tall. Aliens of every shape and color filled the corridor. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others moved on 4, 6, or 8 legs. Some floated through the air. Some rolled along the ground. And all of them, every single one, stopped to stare at the humans. Kevin could feel their eyes on him. He heard the whispers, translated by the small device in his ear. Those are the insane ones. I heard they fight each other for entertainment. Do not look them in the eyes. They might attack. My spawn mate said they drink poison for fun. Kevin's face turned red. He wanted to shout at them, to tell them that humans were not crazy. But Danny had ordered them to be on their best behavior, so he kept his mouth shut and kept walking. Maria moved up beside him. Do not let it get to you, she said quietly. They are scared of what they do not understand. How can you be so calm about this? Because getting angry will not change their minds. Only our actions will do that. Maria shrugged. Besides, some of what they are saying is technically true. We do drink poison for fun. Have you ever had whiskey? Despite everything, Kevin laughed. It was a small laugh, but it helped. The group continued through the station, following signs that led to the entertainment district. Danny had done his research. There was a bar on Nexus Station called The Void's Edge. It was the most popular place on the station, serving drinks to every species. More importantly, it had a section just for humans, where they served drinks that would not kill them. None of them knew that this bar would change everything. None of them knew that within a few hours, the galaxy's view of humanity would begin to shift. And none of them knew that it would start with a spilled drink and end with something that the aliens could never have. Predicted. The humans walked on, watched by hundreds of alien eyes, toward a destiny that none of them could have imagined. The Void's Edge was everything the briefings had promised and more. The bar took up an entire level of Nexus Station. Colored lights moved across the ceiling like slow waves. Music played from hidden speakers, though it was a strange mix of sounds that tried to please every species at once. The result was something that pleased no one completely, but offended no one either. Danny led his crew through the main entrance. A large alien with 4 arms stood at the door. This was Grix, the owner of the bar. He was a Kethrani, and his species was known for being good at business. Grix looked at the humans with all 4 of his eyes. Humans, Grix said. His voice was deep and rumbling. I have prepared a section for your kind. Follow the blue lights on the floor. Your drinks will not kill you there. Thank you, Danny said politely. Do not thank me. Thank the insurance company. They made me install special equipment after they learned humans might visit. Grix shook his large head. A species that drinks industrial solvent for pleasure. Madness. The crew followed the blue lights to their section. It was a corner of the bar near a large window that looked out into space. A beautiful purple and pink nebula filled the view. Stars twinkled in the distance. It was actually quite nice. They found seats around several tables that had been pushed together. A server approached them. It was a thin alien with too many joints in its arms and legs. Its eyes glowed softly in the dim light. The server looked at the humans the way someone might look at a dangerous animal that had wandered into their home. What may I bring you? The server asked. Its voice shook slightly. Maria leaned forward with a friendly smile. What do you recommend? The server's eyes grew wider. I do not know what is safe for your kind. Your bodies are very strange. Just bring us whatever you have that will not kill us, Maria said. We are not picky. The server nodded quickly and hurried away, clearly happy to put some distance between itself and the humans. Kevin looked around the bar. Every few seconds, he caught aliens staring at them. They would look away quickly when they noticed him looking back, but then they would start staring again moments later. This is uncomfortable, Kevin muttered. Give it time, Danny said. We are new here. Once they get used to us, things will calm down. But things were not going to calm down. At a table nearby, a group of Zorani were watching the humans with great interest. Their clear skins shifted through different colors as they talked quietly among themselves. The leader of the group had darker skin than the others, which meant he was older and more important. After a few minutes of watching, this Zorani stood up and walked toward the human tables. He moved smoothly, his long legs carrying him across the floor with grace. He stopped in front of Danny and looked down at him. You are the humans, he said. It was not a question that Danny stood up, being careful not to make any sudden movements. He held out his hand, palm up, in the greeting gesture that humans had been told was universal. Lieutenant Commander Danny Price, Danny said. Earth Fleet, pleased to meet you. The Zorani looked at Danny's hand like it was something unpleasant. He did not take it. Instead, he made a clicking sound that the translator turned into laughter. I am Velthris, the Zorani said. I represent my people on the Galactic Council. I have studied your species extensively. His skin turned a shade of orange that seemed to mean he found something funny. Tell me, human, is it true that your species once strapped themselves to explosive rockets just to reach your own moon? We did, Danny said, lowering his hand. And we made it. Fascinating. And is it true that your soldiers run into burning buildings to save strangers? That your medical workers treat deadly diseases even when they might catch them? We call those people heroes. Velthris made the clicking laugh again. We call them defective. Their self-preservation programming is clearly damaged. He turned to look at his companions at the other table. They were all making the same clicking sound. Laughing at the humans, Maria's jaw tightened, but she stayed seated. Kevin's hands curled into fists under the table. The rest of the crew shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Your entire species is a puzzle, Velthris continued. You are small. You are weak. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. By all logic, you should have been eaten by predators millions of years ago. And yet, here you are, reaching for the stars. He leaned closer to Danny. The council is trying to decide if you are brave or simply too stupid to understand danger. Danny's smile did not waver, but his eyes had grown hard. Maybe we understand danger better than anyone. We just choose to face it anyway. Choose to face it, Velthris repeated slowly. Yes, that is what makes you insane. A normal species runs from danger. A normal species calculates the odds and makes smart decisions. Your species sees a threat and runs toward it. This is not courage. This is a malfunction. Or maybe, Danny said, his voice still calm, it is what makes us survivors. We faced predators that were bigger and stronger than us. We survived ice ages and plagues and disasters. We are still here because we do not give up. We do not surrender. We fight, even when the odds are against us. The bar had grown quiet. Other aliens were listening now, watching the exchange between the human and the Zorani. Velthris' skin shifted to a deep purple again. Superior, amused. How primitive, he said. Then he turned and walked back to his table. The noise in the bar slowly returned to normal. But something had changed. The humans could feel it. The alien stares were different now. Not just curious or afraid. There was something else. Something that looked like the beginning of a challenge. At another table across the bar, a group of Vex miners were watching the humans with interest. The Vex were large, heavy creatures. Their bodies were covered in plates that looked like rock. They were known throughout the galaxy for their strength and their short tempers. The leader of the Vex group, a massive creature named Kron, was talking quietly with his workers. Credits were being exchanged. Bets were being placed. The humans are small, one Vex said. They will break easily. They are soft, another agreed. No armor, no claws. They are nothing. Kron said nothing. He just watched the humans with his small, deep-set eyes. He had heard stories about this species. Stories that said they did not know when to quit. Stories that said they kept fighting even when they should fall. He did not believe these stories. Nothing that small and soft could be truly dangerous. But he was curious to find out. In a dark corner of the bar, far from the lights and the noise, another human sat alone. Lieutenant Nina Cole had been on Nexus Station for 3 months. She was undercover, gathering information about a smuggling ring that was moving illegal weapons through the station. Nina had seen the Earth Fleet ship dock. She had thought about making contact with the crew, but her mission came first. Now, watching the tension building in the bar, she was starting to think that contact might happen whether she wanted it or not. She sipped her drink, a green liquid that tasted like grass and burned like fire, and kept watching. Her instincts were telling her that something bad was about to happen. After years of intelligence work, she had learned to trust those instincts. The Void's Edge continued its normal business. Drinks were poured. Deals were made. Aliens laughed and argued and bargained. But underneath it all, tension was building. The humans sat in their corner, trying to enjoy their shore leave. The Zerani watched and whispered. The Vex planned and bet. And somewhere in the station, security officers went about their normal rounds, unaware that they were 12 minutes away from the biggest incident in Nexus Station's history. The night was still young. The drinks were still flowing, and the spark that would light the fire was already falling. The trouble started with a spilled drink. That was often how trouble started. No matter which planet you were on, one of the Vex miners had stood up from his table. He was big, even for a Vex. His rocky plates were dark gray, and his small eyes were already unfocused from too much drinking. He was trying to walk to the bar to get another drink, but he was not walking in a straight line. A small creature, a Frel that barely came up to the Vex's knee, was hurrying past with a tray of drinks. The Frel did not see the Vex. The Vex did not see the Frel. They crashed into each other. The Vex's drink, a thick blue liquid that smelled like engine fuel, flew through the air. It splashed across the floor and onto the boots of the nearest person. That person was Maria Santos. Maria looked down at her boots. They were covered in the sticky blue liquid. She sighed. These boots survived 3 years of service and dozens of missions. Now they smelled like a fuel station. "Hey," she said to the Vex, her voice calm. "Watch where you are walking." The Vex turned around slowly. His eyes focused on Maria, and something changed in his expression. He had seen a human. He had seen a chance. "You will clean that," the Vex rumbled. Maria raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" "I said you will clean it. Get on your knees and clean my drink from the floor." The bar went quiet. This was different from the Zerani's mockery earlier. This was a direct challenge. Everyone could feel it. Danny started to stand, but Maria held up her hand to stop him. "I think there is a misunderstanding," Maria said. Her voice was still calm, but there was an edge to it now. "You bumped into that little guy. You spilled your own drink. That is not my problem." The Vex leaned down, bringing his face close to Maria's. He was 3 times her size, and his breath smelled like sulfur and alcohol. His rocky plates scraped against each other as he moved. "Humans are weak," the Vex said slowly, like he was explaining something to a child. "Humans are soft. Humans do what stronger species tell them. This is how the galaxy works. The strong command. The weak obey. He jabbed a thick finger toward the floor. Now clean. Maria looked at the finger. She looked at the Vex. She looked at the floor. Then she smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. Here is the thing about humans, she said. We do not believe in that kind of natural order. We believe in standing up for ourselves. We believe in fighting back. She stepped closer to the Vex, even though he towered over her. And we really do not like being told what to do. She punched him in the stomach. Her fist found the gap between two of his rocky plates, hitting the soft flesh underneath. The Vex made a sound like air escaping from a balloon and doubled over. He had not expected that. No one had expected that. What did you just do? The Vex gasped. Pressure point, Maria said. You would be surprised what you can learn about alien bodies when you actually read the mission briefings. For 1 second, everything was frozen. The bar was silent. Hundreds of aliens stared at the small human woman, who had just knocked the wind out of a Vex miner. Then the Vex's friends charged. There were 4 of them, all rushing toward Maria at once. Danny grabbed a chair, swung it, and hit the first one in the side. Kevin threw himself at another, tackling it around the knees. The rest of the human crew scattered. Some dove for cover. Others grabbed whatever they could use as weapons. The fight had begun. Maria ducked under a massive fist and came up with an uppercut that snapped a Vex's head back. She spun, kicked another in the knee joint, and rolled out of the way as a table crashed down where she had been standing. Danny was fighting 2 Vex at once, using a broken table leg as a club. He was not as strong as them, but he was faster. He dodged their heavy swings and landed quick hits on their weak points. Kevin had ended up on top of a table, swinging a light fixture at anyone who came close. His training had not prepared him for this, but pure adrenaline was filling in the gaps. He hit a Vex in the face, and it staggered back with a roar. The brawl spread. Other species got pulled in, whether they wanted to be or not. A group of Kethrani traders found themselves in the middle of the fight when a stray punch hit one of their 4 arms. The insect-like cricks joined in simply because they enjoyed violence. Even some of the Zerani got involved. They were not fighters by nature, but the chaos was pulling everyone in. Velfris found himself ducking behind an overturned table, watching in disbelief as the humans held their own against species twice their size. This is not possible, he muttered. His skin was cycling through colors too fast to read. Their bones should be breaking. Their bodies should be failing. One of his companions checked the data device. It is the adrenaline in their blood. When they get scared or angry, their bodies release a chemical that makes them stronger and dulls their pain. That is not biology, Belfrus said. That is a combat drug. No, that is just what happens when humans are threatened. Across the bar, Nina Cole had seen enough. Her cover was already ruined. Any human on the station would be a suspect after this. She might as well help her own kind. She moved through the chaos like a shadow. A Vex was about to smash a bottle over Kevin's head. Nina hit a nerve cluster at the base of its skull, and it dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Kevin stared at her. Who are you? A friend. Keep fighting. She was gone before he could ask more questions. Disappearing back into the chaos.grx, the bar owner had hidden behind his reinforced counter. He was pressing buttons frantically, trying to call station security. But Nexus Station was huge, and the nearest security team was 12 minutes away. A lot could happen in 12 minutes. The fight continued to grow. What had started as humans versus Vex had become a general riot. Old grudges between species came out. New fights started for no reason at all. The beautiful view of the nebula was forgotten as chairs flew and tables shattered. Danny found himself back to back with Maria. Both of them were breathing hard, but both of them were grinning. Still think shore leave was a good idea? Maria asked, ducking a swing from a Kethrani. Best decision I ever made, Danny replied, blocking a punch from a Vex. We are probably going to get in so much trouble for this. Oh, definitely. Court-martial at minimum. Worth it? Danny thought about it for half a second. Absolutely. They kept fighting. The humans kept fighting. They were outnumbered and outmatched in almost every way. But they did not give up. They did not fall. They kept getting back up every time they got knocked down. And slowly, very slowly, the other species in the bar started to notice. This was not normal. This was not how weak species behaved. When weak species got hit, they stayed down. When weak species were outnumbered, they surrendered. But the humans just kept fighting. The Zerani watched with growing confusion. The Kethrani watched with growing interest. Even the Vex, who was supposed to be the aggressors, started to feel something they had not expected to feel. Down, thought the fight was far from over. Security was still minutes away. Bodies were still flying. But something had shifted. The first crack had appeared in the galaxy's view of humanity, and the night was just getting started. 7 minutes into the brawl, something changed. Velthris, the Zerani ambassador who had mocked the humans so confidently just an hour ago, found himself trapped. He had tried to stay out of the fight. His species were thinkers, not fighters. They solved problems with words and calculations, not with fists. But the fight had found him anyway. 3 Vex miners had cornered him against the wall. They were angry and drunk, and they did not care that he was an ambassador. They only cared that he was in their way. Please, Velthris said, his skin turning pale with fear. I am a diplomat. I have immunity. You cannot harm me. The lead Vex laughed. It was an ugly sound. Do you see any security here? Do you see anyone who will stop us? He cracked his rocky knuckles. When this is over, we will say you fell during the fight. Accidents happen. Velthris pressed himself against the wall. His people had a small computer implanted in their brains that calculated probability. Right now, that computer was telling him that his chances of surviving the next 30 seconds were very low. He was going to die. He knew this with certainty. Then Maria Santos appeared. She came out of nowhere, hitting the first Vex from behind. Her tackle sent them both crashing into a support pillar. The second Vex turned toward her, surprised, and she rolled under his grab. She came up fast with an uppercut that snapped his head back. The third Vex grabbed her arm. His massive hand wrapped completely around her bicep. He was so much stronger than her. He could crush her bones with a squeeze. Soft, the Vex said. Weak. Maria looked at his hand. Then she looked at his face. Want to know a secret? She twisted her body in a way that should not have worked. Somehow she slipped out of his grip. Before he could react, she drove her knee into his stomach. When he doubled over, she grabbed his head and slammed it into the corner of the nearest table. The Vex fell and did not get up. Velthris stared at the human woman. His skin was cycling through colors he did not even have names for. Fear, confusion, something else he could not identify. You saved me, he said. Why? Maria wiped blood from her lip. Some of it was hers, from a hit she had taken earlier and barely noticed. Because that is what we do. But I insulted you. I called your species defective. I said you were primitive and broken. Yeah, I remember. Maria shrugged. But we do not hold grudges during a fight. It is bad tactics. You can apologize later if you want. Right now, I need to make sure no one dies. Velthris felt something shift inside him. His whole life, he had believed that species acted in their own interest. That was how the galaxy worked. You helped those who could help you. You ignored those who could not. The idea of risking your life to save someone who had insulted you made no sense, but the human had done it anyway. I am Velthris, he said, secondary ambassador of the Zerani Collective. I believe I owe you a debt. Maria Santos, Chief Petty Officer. And you can pay it off by helping me end this fight before someone actually gets killed. Velthris looked around the bar. The brawl was still going strong. Tables were broken. Bodies were scattered across the floor, some unconscious, some just catching their breath. Different species were fighting different species, and the reasons had been forgotten long ago. My people are not fighters, Velthris said carefully. We are thinkers. We observe and calculate, then calculate how to end this. He was quiet for a moment. His skin flickered through shades of blue and green as his brain worked through the problem. His implant processed data, ran simulations, calculated outcomes. The Vex, he said finally. They started this. They follow a pack structure. If you defeat their leader, the rest will stop fighting. Great. Who is the leader? Velthris pointed across the bar. Maria followed his finger and felt her stomach drop. The largest Vex she had ever seen was destroying everything in his path. He stood nearly 8 feet tall. His rocky plates were thick and dark, and they had turned red with battle fury. As she watched, he picked up a Kethrani and threw it across the room like a toy. His name is Kron, Velthris said. He has killed 37 beings in personal combat. His strength is measured at 4 times the galactic average. His plates can stop most weapons. He has never lost a fight. Of course he has not, Maria muttered. You cannot beat him. The mathematics are clear. Your probability of victory is less than 2%. Maria looked at Kron. Then she looked at the chaos around her. Danny was still fighting, but he was slowing down. Kevin had a cut on his forehead that was bleeding badly. The rest of the crew was scattered, holding their own but barely. Someone was going to die if this kept going. Maybe one of her people. Maybe an alien. It did not matter. Someone would die. Cover me, Maria said. I told you, my people do not fight. Then improvise. That is what we do. She moved before Velthris could argue. She ducked and dodged through the chaos, sliding between bodies and over broken furniture. The bar had become a maze of violence, and she navigated it like she had been doing it her whole life. She reached Kron just as he finished throwing another alien through the air. The creature hit a wall and slid down, not moving. Hey, Maria called out. Big gay? We need to talk. Kron turned slowly. His small eyes focused on her, and something like amusement crossed his rocky face. Another human. You fight well for a soft species. I have been watching. But this... He gestured at himself with both massive arms. This you cannot fight. Probably not, Maria admitted. But I am going to anyway. Why? This fight is not your concern. You could walk away. Because if I do not stop this, someone is going to die. Maybe one of my people. Maybe one of yours. Maybe just some poor alien who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maria set her feet and raised her fists. And I'm not going to let that happen. Kron stared at her. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Then he laughed, a deep rumbling sound that shook the floor. Insane, he said. Your species is truly insane. His plate shifted as he raised his fists. But I respect courage, even foolish courage. Come then, little human. Show me what your insanity looks like. Maria charged. Kron swung a fist the size of her head. She dove to the side, rolled, and came up running. Her fist found a gap between his plates, hitting with everything she had. Kron grunted but did not slow. His backhand caught her across the shoulder and sent her spinning through the air. She hit a table and crashed through it. Pain exploded through her body. Her arm might be dislocated. Maybe broken. She could not tell. Stay down, Kron said. He almost sounded kind. You have earned my respect. Do not make me end you. Maria pushed herself up with her good arm. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. Every part of her body screamed at her to stop, to give up, to just stay down and let it be over. Instead, she stood. Here is the thing about humans, she said, her voice rough but steady. We do not stay down. We cannot. It is not in our code. She charged again. Around them, the bar had gone quiet. Every species had stopped fighting to watch. They had never seen anything like this. A small, soft, broken creature, refusing to accept defeat against an enemy she could not possibly beat. It made no sense. It was insane. And yet, somehow, it was also the most inspiring thing any of them had ever seen. Maria knew she could not win this fight. The logical part of her brain had already done the math. Kron was bigger, stronger, fresher, and covered in natural armor. She was hurt, tired, and running on fumes. But Maria had something that Kron did not have. She had 10,000 years of human stubbornness running through her blood. Her ancestors had faced saber-toothed tigers with nothing but sharp sticks. They had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. They had kept going when every other option was to give up and die. She was not going to be the one who broke that chain. She feinted left, went right, and landed 2 quick jabs on Kron's neck before his arm swept her away. She hit another table, crashed through it, and was back on her feet before the pieces stopped falling. Kron's amusement was fading. Why will you not give up? Not in my vocabulary. She came at him again. And again. Every time he knocked her down, she got back up. Every time he threw her across the room, she came back for more. Blood ran down her face. Her left arm hung useless at her side. She was running on nothing but fury and the refusal to quit. The bar had gone completely silent now. Every species, every being had stopped to watch. They had seen violence before. They had seen determination before. But this was something different. This was watching someone reject reality itself. Danny tried to push through the crowd to help, but Nina Cole held him back. Wait, she whispered. Look. He looked, and he saw what she saw. Valthris was moving through the crowd, speaking quickly to others around him. The Kathrani traders had stopped their betting and were watching with wide eyes. Even the insect-like cricks, who live for violence, had paused. Their compound eyes were fixed on the impossible scene in front of them. Maria went down again. This time, she was slower to rise. Her legs were shaking. Her good arm could barely hold her weight anymore. Enough, Kron said. You have proven your point. Your species is insane. We accept this. Maria spat blood on the floor. Not done yet. She lunged forward, but not at Kron. Her target was the drink machine behind him. It was a massive device that served hundreds of different drinks for different species. She hit the emergency release with her shoulder, and liquid poured out everywhere. Including the industrial solvent that humans called whiskey. The alcohol splashed across Kron's face, into his eyes, into the gaps between his plates. He roared in pain, clawing at his face as the liquid burned his sensitive membranes. Maria grabbed a broken chair leg from the floor. It was sharp and heavy. She drove it into the gap behind Kron's knee with every bit of strength she had left. The Vex leader fell. He was not defeated. Not really. In a few seconds, he would recover, and she would have nothing left to fight with. But for that one moment, he was down, and she was standing over him. Yield, she said. Kron looked up at her from the floor. His expression was impossible to read. His rocky plates had shifted from battle red to something softer. You are insane, he said. Truly insane. Yes. Your species should have died millions of years ago. Probably. You cannot win against me. The math does not allow it. We are not very good at math. Kron was silent for a long moment. The bar was silent. The whole galaxy seemed to be holding its breath. Then Kron laughed. It was different from before, warmer, almost friendly. I yield, he announced loudly. This human has bested me. Let no Vex continue this fight. The remaining Vex Miters stepped back immediately. Their leader had spoken. The fight was over. Maria's legs finally gave out. Danny caught her before she hit the floor. That was the most insane thing I have ever seen, he said. Shut up, Maria mumbled. I need a doctor. Station security finally arrived, flooding into the bar with weapons drawn. But there was nothing left to fight. The brawl had ended. Different species were helping each other up from the floor. Enemies from minutes ago were now checking if each other were okay. Something had changed. Everyone could feel it. Velthris approached Danny and the barely conscious Maria. His skin had settled on a deep, glowing blue. It was a color that meant something important in Zorani culture, though Danny did not know what. What she did, Velthris said slowly, has changed things. Changed what? Everything. The way we see your species. The way we see ourselves. He looked around at the destroyed bar, at the mixed groups of aliens who were now talking instead of fighting. We called you primitive because you fight. But we run. We hide. We calculate odds and avoid battles we cannot win. We thought that was wisdom. Perhaps it is cowardice. A Kathrani trader nearby spoke up. I have watched humans for years. I never understood them until tonight. They do not fight because they enjoy violence. They fight because they refuse to accept defeat. There's a difference. Other voices joined in. Species that had avoided each other for centuries were now talking, comparing notes, sharing what they had seen. The Brawl had broken something open. Walls that had stood for generations were starting to. Crack. Kron limped over to where Danny was holding Maria. The massive Vex looked down at the human woman who had brought him to his knees. You have earned the respect of the Vex, he said formally. From this day, you are Kronkin, my sister in battle. Maria managed to open one eye. Does that come with benefits? It means any Vex who harms you answers to me. Good enough. The medical team arrived and loaded Maria onto a stretcher. As they carried her toward the exit, aliens of every species watched her go. Not with fear or contempt or amusement. With respect. Danny found himself facing a room full of beings who were looking at him differently now. The mockery was gone. The jokes about insane humans had stopped. This changes things, Velthris said again. The council will hear about tonight. About how humans fight not for conquest or glory, but for each other. For strangers. Even for those who insulted them. His blue skin pulsed with light. We have been wrong about your species. We are not heroes, Danny said. We are just us. We see someone in trouble. We help. We get knocked down. We get back up. It is not complicated. No, Velthris agreed. It is not complicated. And perhaps that is what makes it special. The cleanup of the Void's Edge took 3 days. The costs were split among all the species who had participated. But something more valuable than credits had been exchanged at night. Stories spread through Nexus Station, then across the galaxy. Stories of the humans who fought not because they were violent, but because they cared. Stories of the species that called themselves insane because they refused to give up. Stories of a woman named Maria Santos who took on a warrior twice her size to save aliens who had laughed at her. 6 months later, Earth was granted full membership in the Galactic Council. The vote was unanimous. And in a bar that had been rebuilt from the ground up, a new tradition was born. Every year, on the anniversary of the Great Brawl, humans and aliens gathered at the Void's Edge. They drank together. They laughed together. They told stories about the night everything changed. Above the bar, Grix had hung a sign. It showed a human fist raised in defiance, with words written beneath it in 100 different languages. The sign read, Here, humanity proved that insanity and courage are sometimes the same thing. And in the corner, at a table reserved for heroes, a plaque bore the name of the woman who had started it all. Maria Santos, human, sister to the Vex, savior of diplomats, the most gloriously insane being the galaxy had ever known. She still visited the bar whenever her ship passed through Nexus Station. She still drank whiskey that was technically classified as industrial solvent. She still got into the occasional fight, though these days, more aliens wanted to fight beside her than against her. And whenever someone asked her why she had done it, why she had risked everything for aliens who had mocked her, she always gave the same answer. Because that is what humans do. We stand up. We fight back. And we never ever give up. Then she would raise her glass, and 100 voices from a dozen different species would join her in a toast to humanity. The beautiful, impossible, gloriously insane species that had taught the galaxy what courage really meant.